this weekend. Governor Rick Snyder, challenger Mark Schauer will meet for a town hall forum debate. It is Sunday night at 6 o'clock. We will carry it live here on Detroit Public TV. I'll be taking questions from the audience, and Stephen and Nolan will be moderating questions for the candidates from the stage. All right, so finally, this Sunday, the two will be side by side. We will be there, an hour-long format. Give us a little bit of insight, I guess, Nolan, I'll start with you, about kind of these next couple of days and the preparation for it and what you want to hear from the candidates.
Well, I hope both candidates are coming prepared to talk about the next 4 years, because what we've heard in this campaign so far is all about he did this and he did that, and you know, looking back at past decisions, past policy. I'm looking for these campaigns to present a vision. As Steve said earlier, we haven't heard the big ideas. We haven't heard the big vision. This is an opportunity to tell us, okay, here's what Michigan's going to look like in 4 years under my leadership.
Do you think that's what you're going to hear?
I'm not sure. Well, that's certainly the way we're going to structure it. I mean, I think we're still working on our questions. We won't want to give away early what they're going to be. But I think what we're trying to do.
Boxers and briefs, though, right?
That's right. Of course, that's first.
You will not hear any of those kinds of questions at this town hall forum.
You know, I think we're trying to structure the questions in a way that they do look forward. And yeah, I mean, Rick Snyder has a record that needs to be addressed, but that's less important at this point than, okay, well, what do you want to do for the next 4 years? And that's both true of the governor, who I think still has some work to do articulating the things that he's going to do to either tweak or change the agenda that he has put forth. But it's also, I think it's more incumbent on Mark Schauer, who doesn't have a record that we can look at and say, here's what he did. He's got to be much more specific about, okay, so how about saying, here's what the first 100 days in office would look like if I were elected. Rick Snyder did that when the seat was open 4 years ago. We haven't seen Mark Schauer talk about how that early time in office, which is super important in tone setting and agenda setting, what would it look like?
And that's one of the challenges the governor's faced, because he came in with a big, aggressive agenda.
That's right.
And, oh, by the way, got most of what he wanted done. I mean, there's very few undone things on that initial agenda, roads being the biggest one, and a couple other things. I mean, he's got to regroup now and say, okay, I'm not just going to sort of manage things for the next 4 years. Here's what Michigan needs, and here's how I'm going to meet those needs.
I think it's very interesting because you talked a little bit about, when we were talking about the Senate campaign, that the governor's race has opened up a little bit. I feel like I have seen a more aggressive tone from both sides in the last week or so. What would you attribute that to, Stephen?
It's the time, you know, I mean, the days are running out on the calendar. You've got, and you now have a widening lead for the governor. So you're going to see Mark Schauer get more aggressive, I think, in that last couple of weeks. It always picks up in late October because things get tight, people get desperate, and you gotta seal the deal.
But the governor was a little bit lackadaisical in his campaign up until a week or two ago, and I think it finally dawned on him, looking at these polls that showed him with just one or two out, that you know it was time to put some distance between an incumbent governor and a relatively unknown challenger.
Sure.
And I think he just woke up and said, I've got to start talking about this. I've got to start answering the charges. And he got a little sharper with his elbows.
Yeah, we both had the governor in this week for his endorsement interview at the various newspapers, and I'll say he was much sharper than I have seen him over the summer in terms of what he wants to do, in terms of defending his record. We had a really deep policy discussion with him that I have not had, frankly, in a couple of years. This was a much more focused Rick Snyder than I've seen. I'm hoping that's the guy who shows up on Sunday for the debate so that the voters get to see that.
And, you know, he doesn't like to campaign. And, you know, he put off starting the campaign. Most folks would have started it last fall. He said, well, I'll get around to it in February, March. And he doesn't like to campaign. And I think he finally just said, well, now's the time. We're in the home stretch. I better apply the whip and get after it.
One thing I think people are going to be looking for in this debate is the discussion about education and the accusations that have gone back and forth on either side. Schauer saying that he's cut $1 billion, and now the governor's saying that's an out-and-out lie, like using those terms about finally putting to rest or getting the facts out there on both sides. Is that something that you're kind of looking
absolutely.
towards?
I think that's key. Well, that's a quantifiable thing. You either cut or you didn't cut, and you've got one candidate saying I didn't cut, and one candidate saying you did, and that's something. If you're going to make those claims, you ought to be able to prove it. You ought to be able to bring the numbers, bring the facts, and that's clearly one of the issues, probably the key issue we're going to get after, because it has been a major contention point in this campaign.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the areas where the Democratic ads, both Schauer's ads and the third-party ads, have been really effective. Has been repeated over and over and over again, and it is in people's minds.
Yeah, it's putting question in people's minds.
And the governor, I thought this week, showed that he's a little annoyed by that. They got to him because he feels like the record says something really different. So hopefully Sunday will get them to go at it in person.
So the governor was at both of your ed boards then this week, talking about that. So
And Mark Schauer was in last week.
I don't have Schauer till next week.
Okay.
So you have Schauer next week. So then when can we see endorsements from the papers?
Well, not till after the debate. I think that's not generally something we share with one another.
Yeah, right.
Oh, well,
I'm waiting
I see.
till after the elections this year.
We want to be
give
dead
your
right.
endorsements,
It's
yeah.
been so long since I've been right on these elections. I'm going to wait and make sure.
All right. Well, we'll look for that. And again, a reminder that the town hall debate is this Sunday at 6 o'clock right here on WTV.